Today's topic is supposed to be what is the Buddha's teaching. It's like an introduction to the Buddha's teaching. Firstly, I like to say about the Buddha. Who was the Buddha? Nowadays, there is a lot of books about Buddhism, and unfortunately, many of these books are not accurate. So, a lot of us have been told that the Buddha was the son of a king, and this is not true. The Buddha's father was not a king. The Buddha lived in a country called Kosala, and the king of Kosala was Pasenadi. And the Buddha's father was also not the leader of the Sakyans. The Buddha belonged to a race called the Sakyans, and the Buddha's father was just one of the many people in the warrior clan. And just like in Malaysia, we have Tungus and Rajas. And sometimes you may find a Tungu or a Raja who's a poor Tungu. So, in the same way, there are many kind of ordinary people of the warrior clan. And the Buddha's father was one of them. Nothing very special. And the Buddha had something from the past that made him want to seek enlightenment. And if we study the discourses of the Buddha, the earliest teachings of the Buddha, we might come to the conclusion actually he was an Sakadagami, person who had attained the second Aryan fruition. In the Buddha's teachings, there are 8 types of holy men. The first path, the first fruit, second path, second fruit, third path, third fruit, and fourth path, and fourth fruit. So the Buddha appeared to have been Sakadagami, what is called a once returner. A once returner is a Arya who comes back to the human birth, comes back to be born as a human being for the last time, after which he must enter Nibbana. It's like a durian which is ripe, must fall to the ground. So, that being so, that's why in spite of coming from a rich family, having a young and beautiful wife, and the son was just born, yet despite all that, he left all the security of a household to seek enlightenment. So now that we are followers or disciples of the Buddha, how is a person defined as a Buddhist? The Buddha said, we become a Buddhist when we take refuge in the Triple Gem. We take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Taking refuge means we believe that the Buddha was enlightened, and then we follow his Dhamma, his teachings, and the Sangha is the community of monks and nuns who practice along according to the Buddha's teachings and also teach the Dhamma. So you become a Buddhist by taking refuge, but you don't have to take the refuge with a monk. You can just take the refuge yourself. And then after you become a Buddhist, a normal Buddhist is expected to keep the 5 precepts of Panchasila. Just like the Christians have the 10 commandments, we have the Panchasila. And basic precepts, the first one, not to kill. Second one, not to take what is not given to you. Third one is not to commit adultery. Fourth is not to lie. And the fifth is not to take intoxicants. These are the 5 basic precepts that if we keep these 5 precepts, then we don't harm other beings, then there will be much more peace in the world. Now, the other thing, major thing you find different in the Buddha's teachings compared with other religions is concerning God. In almost all religions, you find that the God is the central concept in their religion. You just have to believe in their God and that's it. Don't ask questions. So, when I was young, I was in a Catholic school for 12 years. So I also had to study the Bible and all that. So I developed a love for the Catholic religion. And when I was in Form 5, I was convinced, in spite of what my mother says, in spite of what my father says, I'm going to be a Catholic. But when I was in Form 6, I started to have a lot of questions. For example, if God is merciful, why did God create hell? God can make everybody go to heaven. Why must God create hell? Another question, God is supposed to be omniscient. He knows everything in the past, everything in the present, and everything in the future is going to happen. He knows. So if God knows everything, then when He creates a human being, He will know whether this human being is going to heaven or hell. Yeah. So if He knows that this human being is going to hell, then put on hold. Don't make him. Yeah. So all these questions brought up a lot of doubts in me. So I gave up religion for many years, and then later I came back to religion and started studying all the various religions until I came to Buddhism. Then I found that Buddha's teachings is quite different, very different. The Buddha's teachings is quite deep and profound. So a lot of people who are supposed to be Buddhists, we are namesake Buddhists, but we don't really understand the Buddha's teachings. Now, in the Buddha's teachings, this God is actually a force that governs the world. Force that governs the world. But this force that created this earth and all that is not a being. We are humans, so we tend to give human qualities to the God that we don't understand. So we say God is merciful, we say God is omniscient, God is all-powerful, we must be God-fearing and all these things. So we make God as if God is a human being, at least a living being. But in the Buddha's teachings, God is just Mother Nature. Mother Nature is something we need to understand, not to fear. And Mother Nature has certain laws of nature that we have to understand very well. And if we understand, then we live our lives skillfully, so that we suffer less. And those people who don't understand the laws of nature, they go against the law of nature by killing, by stealing, by raping and all these things. So eventually they will get what they sow, as the Bible says, as you sow, so shall you reap. What you give to others, you get back in return. This is a natural law of nature that the Buddha calls the law of karma vipaka. Or in Chinese we call it yin guo. So even Christians recognize this law. In fact, all religions recognize this law. What you give to others, you get back in return. But the problem is, sometimes in other religions, they have some other contrary belief. For example, that there is some super being that can help you. Sometimes, say like they believe in God, and then God can overcome all this law of karma vipaka. For example, if a person has done a lot of evil deeds, then when he's about to die, he's fearful, very fearful. So sometimes you tell him that if you just convert to our religion, heaven is sure for you. You will definitely go to heaven. So when a person is desperate, then he will want to believe that. But then, rather than believe in something that you can't see, why don't we see, like in this life itself, can you find any one particular religion where if you enter that religion, you convert to that religion, then the God will protect you and you won't get cancer, you won't get AIDS, you won't get all kinds of sickness. Can you find any such religion? You can't find. Every religion you can find people with cancer, people with AIDS, people with all kinds of sickness, right? So even in this life itself, you can see very clearly, no one can protect you. Whatever religion you belong to, it's all the same. So in Buddhism, we don't believe that you can bribe heaven. Tak boleh makan suap. Just by believing, then you can go to heaven. You have to work for it. That's why one of the basic principles in the Buddha's teachings is this law of karma vipaka. So in the law of karma vipaka, if you, in fact one day one man came to ask the Buddha, he said, Bhagava, why is it in this world you can see humans are different. Some humans are born handsome or beautiful, some are ugly. Some are born very intelligent, some are idiots, moron. Some are born into a wealthy family, have a very good life. But others are born into a very poor family. Some have good health, all their life they have good health. But some are born very sickly. And from the moment they are born until they die are always very sickly. Some people are like that. So, you ask the Buddha, why is it people are like that? So suppose, for example, if you are born with one eye blind, then if you think that some creator created you, then you say it's not fair. How can workmanship tak bagus make me half blind? But if you believe in the law of karma vipaka, then you will understand everything that you get, every single thing that you get is what you deserve. No more, no less. So the Buddha said, it's because of past life karma that beings are born different. If a person has a very bad temper in the past, always angry, what happens when you are angry? You become fierce, isn't it? What happens when you become fierce? Your face becomes fierce. Yeah? So if your face is angry and fierce, and every day you are like that, then after, it's a matter of habit, you're always making your face very sour and very fierce, then you'll be born ugly. But if you are very sweet-natured, anything people say, so you laugh and you smile, and you're sweet-natured, like sugar, so you'll be born beautiful. Again, the Buddha said, if you don't know something and you don't inquire, you don't investigate, you don't ask, so it's natural that you won't be very intelligent. But if you don't know something, you inquire, you ask, you try to find out, then you will be intelligent. Also, if you meditate, you're always keeping your mind focused. If you focus your mind and you focus it well enough, the light will come from within you. That's why you see in the pictures of the Buddha, sometimes they show a light on the top of the head. Even Christians, because I came more from a Christian background, you have pictures of Christian saints with a halo around the head, right? What is this halo? It's light, aura. So this comes from meditation. Actually, Jesus Christ was a great meditator. That's why he could walk on water. Just like some of our arahants. So, if you meditate, there's a way to being intelligent, wise. Also, don't take liquor, don't take drugs, spoil your brain. Then you won't be intelligent in the next life. So these are the ways of becoming intelligent. Then, why is a person born into a rich family? Because that person was generous in the past. If you are generous, you are always helping people. So, you'll be born into a rich family where you always have plenty. But if a person is always stingy, don't want to help others, then you don't create good affinity. Then you're born in a poor family, then you want to cari makan also susah. If you have good affinity with a lot of people, people see you only, muka manis, people like you. Okay, they say ulang yen, el yin. So, if you open a shop or something, everybody wants to come and be your customer. So there is how to have a good life, be wealthy. Why are some people sickly? The Buddha said because they like to torture others. Some people, they like to torture animals, make their body painful. And then when, like during my parents' time, my grandparents' time, they had slaves. So last time you can buy a slave, a man's slave or a woman's slave, and they think that slave is my slave, I can do anything. Sometimes they beat the slave, torture the slave. So you make other beings have pain in their body. Next time you'll be reborn with a painful body, always sickly. But if you don't torture other beings, and then you will have a very healthy body. And why is it some people are born with short life, some with long life? You see, sometimes children, very young, they get leukemia and they get cancer. If you think that we are made by a living being up there, then you see it's not fair. This child just born, never did any evil. Why must he suffer from cancer? But if you understand the law of karma vipaka, then you know in the past he did a lot of killing. So at karma, you get a short life. You make other beings have a short life, then you will naturally get a short life. If you don't kill, you allow other beings to have a long life, and you will very naturally have a long life. So these are the laws, these are the things in this law of karma vipaka in Go. There are other teachings of the Buddha which are more of on the spiritual path. Before I come to that, I will talk more about this universe. The Buddha, even 2,500 years ago, they had not made radio telescopes. Nowadays you have radio telescopes in America that can see so far away. But the Buddha had a more powerful telescope inside. And the Buddha talked about expanding world systems and contracting world systems that even scientists don't know yet. So what is this expanding and contracting world system? Firstly, the Buddha talked about a small 1,000-fold world system. Then he talked about middling 1,000-fold world system. Then he talked about great 1,000-fold world system. So what is this? The Buddha said one world system consists of one sun. If you look into the sky at night, you find a lot of stars. Every star is a sun. So every star is a world system. And in every world system, you can expect to find human beings. So 1,000 of these stars makes up a small 1,000-fold world system. What scientists nowadays call galaxy, right? Now, in other Buddhist books, they talk about Chakrawala. This 1,000-fold world system they call Chakrawala. What is a chakra? A disc, right? So you see, so long ago, they already know that the galaxy is a disc. Now only scientists understand that the galaxy is flat like a disc. So what the Buddha was trying to say, that 1,000 of these forms 1,000-fold small world system. Then 1,000 of these forms the middling 1,000-fold world system. And then another 1,000 of these form the great 1,000-fold world system. And the Buddha said that time has no beginning and time has no end. And now Professor Stephen Hawking also verifies. Professor Stephen Hawking, by his calculation now, he has verified what the Buddha said. And the Buddha also said in the suttas, the discourses, that space is boundless. You cannot find the limits of space. And Professor Stephen Hawking also verified what the Buddha said. But one other thing he has not verified, what the Buddha said. The Buddha said that our consciousness, we can cultivate our consciousness until it becomes boundless. You see, every living being, our consciousness goes to a certain extent, For example, you think about a line of ants. It's a line of ants walking. So you stand there and you look at the line of ants. Where are these ants going to? So can the ants look up and look at you? Can they see you? Cannot. Why? Because their consciousness is limited to such a small, they can't see us. So in the same way, our consciousness is not very big also. We can see only to a certain limit. So maybe some deva, some heavenly being up there is looking down at us. And we look up, we cannot see him. They're just like the ant. So the Buddha said, if you cultivate your consciousness through meditation, you can expand your consciousness. It can become boundless. So now this 1,000-fold world system, the Buddha says, expands and contracts. What he means by that is that these stars, they go further and further away from each other. And then they go up to a certain limit, then they come closer and closer to each other. So now what the scientists have found out is that they see the stars in our galaxy are expanding, going away from each other. But they start scratching their heads. Is this star going to expand forever? They don't know. They don't know. But the Buddha knew that they will expand up to a certain limit. After that, they will contract. So when they contract, what happens? They will keep on contracting and contracting and contracting until the Buddha said one day, you see now we see one sun. There's one sun, this few days of this so hot, tak boleh tahan. So after a long time, the Buddha says, you will see another sun come. Habis, another sun coming. One sun tak boleh tahan already, another sun coming into our world. So when the second sun comes, why does the second sun come? Because the stars are contracting. They're coming closer and closer and closer to each other. So when the second sun comes near us, then the plants will die, human beings will die, all the animals will die. Then after a long time, because the stars keep on contracting, third sun will come. And then the small rivers will dry up, small ponds will dry up. Then after that, the fourth sun, the fifth, the sixth, until 7 suns. And 7 suns are around us, and then the world will burn. And they all come together. All these stars come together and they burn and burn and burn, and then they form one one mass, and this mass is a very big, solid, heavy mass. And scientists nowadays, they have discovered this. You know what they call it? A black hole. Black hole is a solid mass in space which is so big and so solid that anything flying near to that black hole gets sucked inside. Actually, this black hole is emitting light, emitting a lot of light. But because it is so huge, its magnetic pull is so strong, the light, what they call the photons, the light particles go out and get sucked back, go out and get sucked back. So you can't see. Can't see. So it appears like dark, but actually it's not dark. So it keeps sucking things, like anything flying by gets sucked in. Then after a long time, what happens? Big bang. Boom. Oucha. Then it gets scattered all over the place. Then after a long time, they circle and circle, and then the stars form again. Stars form again. So this happens from the beginning of time to the end, eternity. It never ends. So this is natural laws of nature. You know, if you study the Tao Te Ching, it says the Tao that can be described is not the eternal Tao. So that Tao is actually also God. It's a force, a being. It's not a being, it's a force that governs the world. And the Tao Te Ching says that from the Tao, then millions and millions of things are created. So they just call it the Tao, they don't call it God. But actually it's the same thing. So now you understand how our world is going to end. In the Bible, it says it's going to end by fire, but I never explained very well. But the Buddha explained very well, very scientifically explained. The Buddha said that living beings, we have 5 places of rebirth, or 5 destinations of rebirth. The highest is the heavenly planes. Heavenly planes are there also many, many levels of heavens. Heavenly beings in the lower heavens have bodies like human beings, but they look like 16-year-old guys and girls from the moment they are born until they die, millions of years later. Life in the heavens is extremely happy and joyful. Next is the human realm. Human beings also are considered a happy destination of rebirth. Below the heavens and the human realm are the 3 woeful planes of existence. The first is the ghost realm. A human being is reborn into the ghost realm because of lacking blessings or merit. And most human beings are reborn in the ghost realm basically because of not doing charity, puja, or dana in Pali. And in the animal realm, human beings are reborn here because of greed, lust, and anger. We notice in the animals these characteristics of greed, lust, and anger. And if we kill or steal, commit adultery, etc., we can be reborn in the hell realms. Here is the worst existence, and because it is suffering, extreme suffering in hell, existence in hell is like eternal. When a being is reborn in hell, he knows exactly why he is suffering in hell, and existence in hell is extremely long. Now, of all these 5 destinations of rebirth, the human realm is very important, because in the human realm we create much more karma or intentional action. We create much more we use our will much more than other places of existence.
So, the human existence, our life here, determines the next few lifetimes that we are going to be reborn into. So that is why we should be extremely careful with human existence. Now the Buddha's teaching is called the Dhamma, and basically the Buddha teaches the laws of nature or the laws of God. And if we live our life according to the laws of nature, we have less suffering. If we go against nature, then we have more suffering. Now the law of nature that affects our life most is the law of karma vipaka, what you call yin guo in Chinese. Karma is intentional action. Every time we act intentionally or using our will or do something purposely, that is karma, that is creating karma. And vipaka is the fruit or the result of the karma that we do. Now the law of karma vipaka says that we get what we give out to others, or as they express it in the Christian Bible, as you sow, so shall you reap.